Here we are.
Here we are.
It's been a minute.
Just one.
Yeah. Sorry for leaving everybody hanging, but we have been busy and have no excuse other than the fact we never prioritized making a podcast in between.
Well, we tried, but in between you'd be working and then I'd be out of town and our schedules kept overlapping. We both weren't here at the same time for the last few weeks.
That's right.
And then I got the plague, but here we are.
That's right. I'm traveling, then you're traveling. Let's talk about traveling and how much of a nuisance and annoying it is.
See, I don't think it's a nuisance and annoying at all. I love traveling. I think we should do more of it.
I know. The idea and the intention behind your traveling sounds amazing, but let's talk about the realistic parts of traveling that have been happening nonstop. Have you not been delayed and always like running to get to the next plane nowadays?
Oh, you mean now, like where we've shifted in the last couple of years with planes? Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know if anybody else feels it, but maybe because we travel so often that now the nonstops are very minimal. It's very rare that you get a nonstop flight. And then because you have to have a layover, I would say 7 or 8 out of 10, my flights are delayed. And the layovers, it maybe not, some people could pick like a 2 or 3 hour layover, but you and I like to get to our destination. So we usually pick an hour layover. And if you're delayed you're going to miss your leg. You're going to miss your connection. But luckily those connections are also delayed.
Which flight was it? I think I went to New Mexico. So that's 4 flights in total. I flew to Dallas, New Mexico, same flights back. Every single one was delayed. That's 4 flights, 4 delays in point to why traveling sucks today. But the last couple flights, I've been really lucky with the hour ones. And I got to California. I was in Ontario. Like I'd land and I'd walk to the next gate and I took off with a matter of like 4 minutes.
So what would be an option for people who don't want to have to fly? What are some other alternatives to avoid all that?
Just avoid traveling, move into an apartment, eat bugs, do what the government tells you, take pharmaceuticals, and don't think.
Okay. We're not those people.
That's right. We're not those people.
So what would be another alternative for people? And I'm sorry, my voice, I sound like a man. Even hearing it, I sound real groggy. I'm getting over a little funk. So
well, Steve,
bear with me. Steve, it's Stefan to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, to even backtrack, we did van life for a long time, and people always ask about questions about how do you do it? Do you not drive each other crazy? Which we do in the house anyway, so why not just shove each other in a van too?
Yeah. What made us, I think people always want to know what made us decide to do the van life and, what we thought about it versus what it actually ended up being. And it's lots of questions around van life.
Flight has a lot to do with it because we travel all the time for work. We still do. We always have. Living in Miami for a couple of years, the first year COVID happened and they started shutting down. They started giving you rules where you can't go, vaccines, not vaccinated, masks, no masks, flights canceled, too many people, 6 feet. So we were paddleboarding. We were trying to get outdoors as much as we could. And then I would show you these van videos. I'm like, this is sick. But I'm not the type that's like, let's do it. I'm just like, this is sick. That's where it ends for me. You, on the other hand, were like, cool, let's do it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And you're like, no, for real. Sure enough, you have like 10 phone calls that next couple hours. And you're like, I found all these dealerships, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Vegas, like all these places that have the van we want because you did all this research. And sure enough, you got us one.
Yeah, during COVID, it was really hard. I think a lot of dealerships were trying to get rid of cars. We weren't really in the position we were in, like when COVID actually started hitting its peak, where a lot of people were selling cars for more because they couldn't get vehicles, something with a chip. I don't really know. Don't really follow the media as much. But I think when we were buying the van, a lot of people were also wanting to do van life. And so after, like you said, spending hours and hours on YouTube and trying to figure out what the van parts that we actually want, like, do we need an additional alternator? Do we want to have it 4x4? Do we want the high roof? Do we want XXXX?
We're just talking as in layman terms to start. We can get into those type of factors. But in reality, we were just like, what kind of van do we need?
Oh yeah. Do we want a Mercedes?
Do we want
a Dodge? Do we want a Ford? Those were the main.
Do we want it built out already? Do we want to buy a new one and build it the way we want to build it?
Or do we want to buy it and pay somebody else to build it? And that was, we almost took that route. Remember, we almost went with the Active to build ours.
Right.
They are amazing.
Yeah, they make great vans out of Reno if anybody's on the West Coast or
The
just wants to
Active.
fly out there.
Yeah. But they were just starting out too, getting their business going. So they weren't quite ready to take on.
Custom builds.
Yeah. And we loved the way that they were building, but we had a couple tweaks we wanted to add. You know,
So living in Miami, Steph's parents have a bunch of land out in Tennessee. So we ended up getting a van, shipped from Vegas to Nashville,
what a nightmare.
driving it back to her parents' house, and we just started laying out stuff.
Should we back up and explain this? Is that even worth talking about? The horrifics. All I'll say is the van that we wanted was also very highly sought after. And so when we would find one, they would go very quickly.
Yeah.
So we were in California and we found one. Was it Philadelphia?
Philadelphia.
And they ran our credit. We were approved. We were going to change our flight instead of going back to Miami to go to Philly to pick up the van. It was ours. And then they sold it to somebody else.
Yeah, after running our credit and giving it to us on paper.
Another dealer, another salesman. So anyway, we were like, what the frick are we going to do? And we found another one that was in Vegas. So we flew to Vegas.
Test drove it.
We loved it. And then the dealer in Tennessee called and was like, oh, can you ship it to us? So we bought it from the Tennessee dealer. They had an agreement or something with the Vegas dealer. So
it was a 4x4
So it was in Tennessee.
Which is why it was the hardest to get. And people still want ours to this day because of that.
Well, they're not making the 4x4 diesel right now. Something with their emissions, or I don't remember. So even now, like it's still highly sought after. Something with, and it was actually made in Germany too, which is rare. Those 4x4s, something specific. They're made in other countries, and so this one's actually a German built Mercedes. Yeah. It's a beast.
So either way, we got the van. It's just completely empty. We decided to start the build out. Her parents lived in Tennessee, like I said. We'd go 2 weeks in Tennessee building, fly back to Miami for 2 weeks. We went back and forth for probably like 8-9 months straight, like that, building, not building, building, not building, because workflow and then everything we ordered for the van was behind schedule. So it'd like ship in, whether it was windows, refrigerator, heaters, all those things that we ended up getting.
Everything was back ordered. I mean, it was really challenging to get the parts, and the parts that we would get, a lot of them would come damaged. So it was just kind of like an awkward time to be building. But let's talk about the layout. Like, why are you happy with the layout we chose, and why did we choose the layout that we have?
So you walk in, there's a bench up front you could sit on, but you lift the bench up and the refrigerator's down there. Refrigerator, freezer, left shower with the toilet in the shower.
Could pop up a picture maybe in this.
Yeah.
Show
and
people.
Then, got the kitchen sink. We got a full platform bed in the back. So it's stationary. It does not move. Or some people do the foldable couches, but we had so much stuff because we were going to do like full time. We did like a year on the road. We wanted the garage to keep stuff in. And then also the whole couch foldable fold. Do you want to set that up every single day repeatedly? No. And then the Happy Jack was an option for beds to come up and down, but everyone said, not everyone, but there were reviews saying that sometimes they, jam up or something goes wrong. And what are you going to do if your bed's stuck in the ceiling when you're trying to go to bed one night?
And that was when they were just coming out too. So like I think their new models are probably better.
I'm sure they're perfect.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's a good point. We just didn't want to have to break the bed down and put it back together every single time.
So, I mean, first of all, we had some, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration from what's the people's name?
Active?
No, there was another group
of
husband and wife that you
Alex
bought.
And Sarah.
Alex and Sarah. You bought one of their layouts for measurements on how to do certain things, but we drew our own plans, but we purchased theirs because we just want to know like how the build actually works.
I think we purchased a couple. There was another, Gianna. No, I can't remember. I'll have to put their name somewhere down here. But we also purchased their layout. I really liked their style of the van. They went like with a modern farmhouse feel. Yeah. And then Alex and Sarah, they had a Facebook group. So what I liked is you could join that and you could ask a bunch of questions and everybody would help you out. And then we set up calls with them too when we were in the middle of the layout.
Yep. So other than that, we don't need to get too nitty gritty now in terms of how you build it, but we will give our shout outs to people who helped us along the way. Obviously, Alex and Sarah.
Jake and...
But in reality, Overvanding Solutions, right?
Ori. That's their company now.
Yep, that shout out to them.
Who we met through Sarah and Alex. It was their electrician. So we set up an hour call with Ori, and he changed our lives. And he was actually based in Chattanooga, which wasn't far from my family.
So we did essentially everything ourselves because her stepdad was a plumber and electrician. So we laid everything out, but even it was foreign to him, the van, shoving it in a little box and corner and how to run it all. So we did everything basic, went to Ori, and he completely like finalized, like just plugging in the last few things, and then built all of our overhead cabinets, which was amazing. It
We
looks
were
awesome.
going to do it, but remember we booked the job with a big grocery store corporation. And so we ended up flying out. We were in Denver, Portland, and LA for like 6
Yeah.
weeks. And so that was the time we were going to build the cabinets. And we just said, you know what? We're a little behind schedule now. Our lease was coming up in Miami, and we didn't really want to live with my parents forever. So we're like, Ori, can we pay you to just do all this and do the finishing work? And then we had somebody else build out our kitchen cabinet.
There's nothing better than flying back from a long trip and then the van has all them built and you're like, oh my God, this is the best
It
ever.
was so sexy. And we went through with AM Solar, we bought this like souped out top of the line electric system. I mean, you could do one for like $2,000, but we bought the $10,000 one. So my stepdad, like you said, he's an electrician. He was helping us do all the wiring. But, doing a van, it's just something, it's different. He was out of his comfort zone and he nailed it. He did such a great job. But then we had like a few tweaks that needed to happen. So when we drove out to the West Coast, AM Solar kind of fixed a few little things here and there for us.
Solar panels.
Hooked up the
locked
solar
everything in.
panels. Yeah, that was really awesome. They were a great company, but man, it was like learning a new language for us.
Agile, off-road, and Luminous also for our outfit, brake kits, upgrade lifts, tires, rims, and Luminous roof rack.
So we said, I know a lot of people, they can build a van for, under $10,000, but we're bougie. And we said, if we're going to live in this thing for a year, we want the best of the best. And if we're making the investment in it, we wanted to have the resale value be also pretty valuable. So David and I just went all out and we picked the top of the line of everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's why we went with the Luminous roof rack, and they were going to charge us like $300 or $600 to ship it. And then we'd have to install it ourselves. Just to back up, the roof rack, it's this giant, you sketch out your layout on the roof and they custom build it to where your fans and your AC units are.
So we already installed the air conditioner and the fan on the roof. And so knowing that, they're like, you need to send us a custom cutout size because they just lower it and lock it into your rails on your van. So I flew the drone up, took a picture from up above, and then measured every single corner, and then sent them the picture from the drone and put like lines. It was like 12 inches here, 14 inches.
And it
here.
has to be pretty spot on.
So they lowered it in. We drove to San Diego.
I said, if we're
Walked
going
right
to,
in.
$600 will cover some of our fuel out to the West Coast. Let's just do it and have them install it for a couple $100. And they did it and it was great. And they had it done in, no time. And then Agile, like you said, was across the street from them down in San Diego.
It's probably the top of the line off-road company that there is.
Yeah, they souped the van up. It is so sexy, man. I freaking love the van.
Baja lights, everything.
Yeah. And although we don't live in it full time, we still travel in it. We still use it a lot for work. The layout's really comfortable. Now we have a dog. Our dog fits in it quite comfortably. But also I kind of want to back up a second because I think one of the things that offers a lot of value for us with the van as well is that when we travel with all of our film equipment, it's a pain in the absolute butt to have to go through TSA with all this equipment. David was constantly getting stopped. We'd have to pull all the equipment out. Luckily, we got TSA pre-check, so that's making it better. But I mean, like checking all of our stuff and getting into a hotel and unloading all this stuff and loading it back up, like having the van and just having all your stuff there. You can cook, you've got your own bed, you have your own sheets, it's clean. You've got your own water. You don't have to worry about any of that. Your equipment's there. You've got electricity. You could edit while we're on the road. There were just so many benefits for us as a business to have the van, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Definitely. Or has it been more of a pain in the butt for you?
Well, let's go into more of what people want to hear because right now we're just rambling about things that
People may want to hear this.
they don't want to hear any of this.
They want to hear all of this.
No. They want to hear stuff like, okay, what are the best parts
Okay.
what are the best parts of living in the van or doing van life?
What do you think? What were yours?
Freedom on the road, seeing new cities and places, restaurants, hikes.
Oh, yeah, the hiking.
But I think the main thing, which you were just touching on, is having all your stuff. We don't road trip the same in the car as we do in the van. So if we're in the van, it's like, I got to pee, walk to the back. You want a sandwich? I'll make you a sandwich. My clothes are here. I can, like you said, I plug in the computer and I'm editing while we're driving. That makes driving and road trips the greatest.
Yeah.
Having a van.
I agree with you on all of that.
What's the best parts for you?
I would say
Continue.
absolutely having the toilet in the van while you're driving, because it does shrink down the stops. That's really nice. I like that we are able to cook on the road, like have our own food. I think when you travel, you spend so much money, like eating out, and and the food's not really that good in smaller cities. No offense to like small towns, but you're going to get a bunch of fried food, and over time you just kind of gain weight when you're traveling. So I like that we could still eat good food while we were traveling. And I know some people think when you're in a van, you're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but that wasn't the case for us. I think we were eating pretty well.
Yeah, we eat well in the van, and when you add cooking your own food, shout out to you for doing a lot of that.
Thank you.
Like the snacks and the food and preparing, and then doing the hikes, you're a little more active, like accidentally while being in the van.
Yeah.
Because place we like to go, it's not just traveling to see clients all the time. If we're cutting across 4 states, we're going to hit those national parks. And now you're adding a 10 mile, the 4 mile, 8 mile hike a couple days in a row. And all of a sudden I'm like, how did I lose weight the last week? And it's like, oh, that's how. Just like out, active, traveling, hiking.
I think my all-time favorite thing about the van is the adventure of it. I love traveling. I love seeing new things. I love going to national parks. I love exploring the United States. I think our country is such a cool freaking place to explore. And I had no idea that some of the places even existed that we saw. I mean, you hear about them and you think, oh, that seems like a cool spot to go visit. But until you see it, all you can say is, wow. I mean, how many videos did we have where we were, wow. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. We saw some really epic places, and that to me became addictive. I wanted to do more and see more and just keep going.
Yes. I think one of the best parts, even though it can be annoying at times because it's a little more time consuming, the van forces you to be organized. Everything has to have a place. So I would say our first trip, like there's a couple times where you figure out that you don't need certain things on the road, or you're always moving something from bench to bed to counter to seat. And you're just like, why am I always moving stuff?
Yeah.
Eating. If you're cooking a meal, you have to do the dishes and put them away because you're going to drive your house. You can't leave dishes on the counter. You can't leave stuff outside. Everything has a system. And I think you learn the system as you're going. We've nailed it, I think, now. But yeah, I think I like the organized part. Your clothes have an exact spot. Everything
has a place. Marie Kondo would be very proud.
And it's forced organization. Otherwise, you're a
Yeah.
slob. And being in the van life community, as we are, you go somewhere, whether they're a van person or just a regular Joe, they want to see the inside. And are you going to show your house to somebody with it being filthy?
Not us. No, thank you. Yeah, and we love showing it too, because when we were first starting out, we didn't see any vans. We didn't even step inside of a van that was built out until ours was done. Actually, that's not true. We saw Ori's, but
We slept in it.
yeah, we slept. Thank God, man, they were so awesome. But we hadn't even seen it. We had just seen YouTube videos. So whenever somebody came up to us, they wanted to see inside, we were stoked. We're like, yeah, come on in. Yeah. But to second what you're saying, you cannot have stuff out, because when you're driving, it goes everywhere, everywhere. So we had a system: turn off the water heater, turn off the electricity, make sure the sink was empty. What were some things that maybe you didn't enjoy about van life?
Exactly. I was just going to ask you that. What are the worst parts of van life?
I have a
if we could
few.
say? All right. Since you know, go.
I would say this might be what's your worst, but it would stress me out when you would stress out about where to park at night, like where to sleep. That I was like, because I just didn't care. To me, I'm like, pull up on the side of a street. It's not a big deal. But
It's literally illegal.
You would think that like the cops were going to knock on the door. And that did happen
Which
once.
they did.
It happened once.
Twice, probably.
Yeah, but that was probably like our biggest tiff, was just you wanting to. Okay, but that's you, not me. My least favorite parts were probably. I know I said I had a few. Okay, yeah. Sometimes that would become like when the middle hallway was small. And so there were parts of time like I'd be cooking and you'd be going back and forth. And I'm just like, yeah, space. Like you stay up in the front, let me just cook, and then you can come hang out with me when I'm done.
And that's part of creating organization.
Yeah.
Because once you realize your routine on the road, it's like if someone's going to be doing something, the other has to be stationary until that thing's done.
Yeah.
Whether it's outside or up front or in the back.
Yeah.
And that's,
I think we stressed about different things. Like you would stress about having the van at 100% all the time. Where to me, I'm like, it's fine. We'll boost it back up when we drive in a couple
what's the worst
days.
for you? Because right now you're just telling
I
everybody
know,
what
I'm
I
sorry.
think.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what are the worst things when it comes to van life if you had to choose them?
Things like falling in the van was always annoying. Like our cabinets would open, even though we had super strong magnets. Sometimes you'd take a turn and a cabinet would open, and it just would always stress me out. It's so stupid.
It still does.
It still stresses me out.
You're like,
I know.
like
I know.
turning.
I would also say maybe something that's kind of a pain, which isn't terrible, is that you have to stop more often now to top off the fuel. I think for us, because diesel wasn't in a shortage when we were traveling, we made sure to top off every half tank, because there were times where we would travel and we wouldn't come across a gas station that had diesel for hundreds of miles. And so that would create a little bit of a panic and a stress. Really, I mean, there's not a whole lot, even though I said there was. I'm sure you'll come up with some things that'll make me think about it.
So some of the negatives I would say that come with, that come with van life: space, which you covered, smells. You don't realize how much you pee until you have a compostable toilet that you have to dump the urine yourself. So we'd look back and the pee would be pretty high, which isn't that bad.
Pee stinks.
But pee stinks bad. And some things you got to realize too, if you don't have a trap, even if you do, you have to dump your gray tanks pretty often. Because even if you're just, washing your hands as you think, you do dishes and there's food chunks that go in there, within like 2 or 3 days, there'll be a foul smell that starts coming back. And you're like, what is that? And you don't realize it till you like roll down a window while you're driving, because air starts circulating and it comes towards the driver.
Yeah.
And you'll just be like, what smells horrific? And it's
we thought it was the toilet for so long, and it would be the sink.
Yeah, gray tanks.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So just space, smells, pooping.
Oh, yeah.
Steph loves to poop in the van.
I love it. It's
like
like
her
it's
favorite
because it's
thing.
clean and it's safe and it's our little nook and it's private. I don't have to worry about other people in the bathroom.
And I try to tell her, we pee and poo when you stop. I get it. Peeing is fine. We do it all the time in the van, especially pooping. They're like, we're at the gas station. Go inside. She'd rather poop in a bag and toss it out like a puppy than go in a gas station or a campsite or something nice. I'm like, just go.
Have you been in a female? You haven't been in a women's bathroom in a gas station.
Have you been in a men's bathroom in a gas station?
Exactly. Why would I would rather poop in a bag than poop on like a sharded toilet in a female's bathroom.
That goes right back to smells in the van, because you'd
But it's
rather poop
temporary.
in there.
But it's usually when you're not in there. It's quick. I'm a quick pooer. I don't just like hang out in my own stench. I get my business done, seal it up, and I toss it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a quick pooer. Some people like to hang out in the bathroom in their stench for 30 minutes.
Your work done.
Work or Instagram. When I start getting a bunch of Instagram notifications that you've sent me stuff, and I come back and I'm like, he's taking a poo.
Yeah.
I was going to say the S word, but you said it. YouTube was going to.
That was only within the first couple minutes.
All right, fine. When you're in there taking a shit and you're Instagramming me, I know.
Another thing that is a negative is finding a place to sleep for the most part. If you're doing full nomadic life and you're not just doing a road trip where you have plans at like campsites, like you said, sleeping can be stressful because you don't know where to go exactly. And there are places, there's apps. I would just say know where you're going ahead of time. Like during that day, if you're going to be somewhere later that night or something, look up the locations, the possibilities, because we have gotten into arguments on where to sleep. Cops have knocked on the door before.
Once.
Was it once or was it twice? I feel like it was twice.
I feel like it was twice too, but I don't remember where
In
the
a national
second
park.
one was.
So we had a ranger and a cop do it.
Right. Well, we didn't know the national park. You can't stay the night in national parks.
Yeah, unless you have a campsite at certain places.
Which is so weird. But I understand. I get it. I would also say too, one of the things when you were talking about that, laundry. Laundry can be kind of annoying because when you're traveling and you're wanting to get places and you have to stop and do your laundry, you don't have a laundry facility in your van. Some people put them in their buses. But, for us, that was challenging.
Yeah. So
not challenging. It was just kind of like a nuisance. You don't want to stop.
Laundry could be a pain just because if you're hiking and doing the national park stuff, you're going to be sweating and you can't like reuse your dirty workout clothes all the time because they do start to smell. Like we've done 12-mile hikes before. I'm like, I'm not going to wear that again until I do laundry.
And then you get in bed, you want to be clean and your sheets get dirty. So, we're very clean people. And so I think van life it had moments, I think, for you, like you liked the floor to be super clean. David didn't like grit.
I was just going to say that.
David's not a grit person under his feet. So.
And when you're living on the road, you always, every step you take back into the van, you are bringing dirt with you.
Yeah.
So sweeping the floors on a daily was a thing. Mm-hmm. So that became very annoying.
Yeah.
Steph doesn't care.
I didn't care. But David would like wipe his feet on the bed before he got in it. You would like wipe your feet on the sheets. So our sheets.
That was like getting the ground was dirty.
Yeah,
so
it's fine. I mean, it's fine. It didn't bother me. But there were things I did that probably bothered you, like pooping in a bag in the toilet. So we had our own things that we cared about and didn't care about, and it worked out quite nicely.
That's right.
Yeah. Showering in the van.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Because some people say you don't need a shower. Some people say you do need a shower. Would you have done it differently and not put a shower or put a shower in the van?
Shower 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a necessity when you're living or even doing long road trips. I'm like, it's the greatest feeling that you can go back in there and shower. I think that's private. I think you don't have to worry about the public bathhouses. Some places you can't find a shower.
Mosquitoes.
I think it's a need. At least for us, it's been the best.
There were times where, like for instance, when we finished Yosemite and we had done, 20-mile hike that day, and we were just toast. The best feeling in the entire world was coming back and taking a shower. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to be active and exploring and doing a bunch of stuff, absolutely you need a shower because it just does something to your psyche to just rinse off all the grit. Like we went to the sand. What was the sand dunes? Oh my God, it was the hottest day ever. Just to get in the shower. I mean, you feel like a new person. It's the little things in van life that can make or break your adventure. So to me, a shower was necessary. And it's not like you're in there taking, a 20-minute shower. You get 3 to 5 minutes max.
So what would you say are the top needs when it comes to van life? If someone's doing it, what were the things that you most appreciated? Shower?
Shower.
In there?
I would say a shower for sure. Some way to clean. We put these windows in the back and put the fan in the front, and it created this circulation system. I think that you absolutely need some form of
max air fan.
The max air fan with the windows. So when you suck the air in, and you open the back windows, it creates this vortex of air flow.
The other way though, sucks in from the windows.
Sucks in from the windows,
goes to the fan.
Yeah, I think that was definitely, we use that more than our air conditioner. I mean, tenfold. I would absolutely recommend that over AC unit anytime. The AC unit's been an absolute pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's a blessing if you're somewhere miserably hot, but you got to be plugged in or have so much battery power that you don't have to worry about it.
Right, and we didn't. I mean, we do. We have 400 amps. But, you would think that, but it's
still
just
not enough. We need to convert that
1800
into a DC low powered air conditioning unit, which I heard they're out there, the Penguin or whatever they have by Dometic.
Not the Dometic. There's another one. There are actually some really great ones now, but because of our roof rack, it won't fit. So we have to have someone custom cut. Anyway, it's a whole process now.
Either way, max air fan.
Max air fan. I think the window coverings that we got from Strawfoot, I don't know if they're still making them or not, but some form of window covering.
Yeah, they're blacked out magnetic and they pop onto every window in the car, van. And it's been a blessing where if you pull up to, let's just say you're not supposed to stay somewhere, but you feel safe and you're not bothering anybody. We pop them on, turn on the lights in the van, and it looks blacked out in the van. It looks like the lights are just off or you can't see, which is great. So we're in there living our life.
Gives you privacy. It gives you security because people don't know if you're in there or not. People, to me, that was a definite must. I would also say I really like our refrigerator and freezer. I like that we did the dual. Some people will do like the refrigerator door, those little mini fridges you'd see in a hotel room. But we did one that's like a cooler style where one side could be fridge, freezer, fridge or freezer. To me, that was huge because we like to eat and cook and we can stuff the shit out of that refrigerator and freezer.
That's great. And
that was a good one. And then I would also say our heater. The little heater, the diesel heater that we put in.
That's right.
The S-Bar, I would do that again. We actually put that in as one of our first projects, my stepdad and I, because we knew that was going to be a pain in the butt to tie it in. And everyone swore that you'd have to have it when it gets colder. And
it's been the greatest thing
it's
we've
been
had.
great.
Because we've traveled in freezing temperatures, and
Montana, Wyoming.
I think it's something like you can technically, because it's running through the diesel, you connect it into the actual fuel tank of the van.
Yep.
And it's some crazy number, like you can run it for 24 hours straight, and it takes less than a tenth of your fuel tank.
Yeah, it's
it
great.
Won't even, it will barely move the gauge if noticeable. Because we'll just run it, overnight while we're sleeping, shut it off. We're driving, we refill. We haven't ever noticed a dent
And
ever
it
missing.
is powerful. That thing puts out some heat.
You can, burn yourself out of that van if it's so hot. But you set it to a thermostat and it's great.
What about you? What were your favorites?
Those are all the top things. And I would say if you're worried about security, get an alarm system.
Yeah. The alarm system's been nice. I also like that we did the bigger water tank. Some people will do like 20 gallons, but because we were in it full time and we wanted to be off grid for maybe a week at a time, 2 weeks, 2 people using water, we did a 40, is it 40 or 42?
42 gallon.
42 gallon. And so I would highly, highly recommend the bigger water tank if you're going to be living full time and going off grid more.
Yeah. And I would say, not only that, but just like know how much water you're using too.
Yeah. Don't just, you learn to
do your military showers.
Yeah.
So get wet, turn it off. Soap, spray, you're done. Don't be letting that thing soak and there goes your water.
What would you not put in the van again? If you were to rebuild it, what would be something that you wouldn't do again in there?
I don't think there's anything I wouldn't do. I would just shrink a few things, like shrink the kitchen counter, maybe like 4 inches.
Yeah. Because it is pretty wide.
The wall on the kitchen side, get rid of so it's more see-through all the way to our bed.
More of like an open floor concept.
Yeah. And then maybe adding like a pop-up table, which we still can do on the entrance to our kitchen from the van on the outside. And when we were traveling full time, it was nice to have that closet space in there. We didn't need it. I mean, you really don't need that much stuff when you're traveling in a van, just your clothes and your shoes. Been nice.
So for me, I would probably knock that entire place out. I would knock that whole wall down and maybe shrink the shower, make it less because we don't
put the shower right when you walk in instead of to the left.
I like that it's open that way. I'd probably scoot it down closer to the bed.
Okay.
And maybe do like another bed. I don't know. But I would absolutely not use the Nature's Head compost toilet. I hate it. I absolutely despise that toilet. And people swear it doesn't stink. And then some people swear it does stink. And
I just saw a video of another couple talking about how their hopes were so high for it. Now they only pee in it and they don't poo in it.
Yeah. We tried everything.
Yeah, they have the exact same story as us.
We tried the coconut core. We tried what's the other stuff?
I don't know.
But anyway, we tried every material. It stunk no matter how you cut it. And it wouldn't just stink like after a month. It would stink after like 3 uses. And so to us, it was an absolute pain. So we just stopped. We just use it as a pee toilet, which it's great as a pee toilet if the pee stays in the pee, but sometimes the pee goes to the poo area. Anyway, they have a flushable toilet now that we could Nature's put in
Head?
there. No, it's not Nature. It's another company. Ori was telling us about it a long time ago, but it's like $1.50 a flush. But people say it's awesome.
What does that mean, $1.50 a flush?
Because it's these bags, I guess you put in there.
Each bag is $1.50.
When you break down the number. But when you do your liquid, you put this powder and it solidifies the liquids. And so, and you can use it a couple times. You can like spread out the usage of the bag. And then when you do the solid, it does this like...
It's like I poop in it and then you poop in it and then we get rid of the bag?
No, each poo would be its own use. But what it does is it's like this NASA vacuum suck where it just, I don't know, it just does something. I don't know the science behind it. I would assume it's what they would use on space shuttles. Because you're just like... And then it
just disappears into space.
Yeah, it just... But this one stays with you.
Cool.
So
we'll look into it.
Yeah.
What are the must-knows about doing off-grid and going like national parks? When you're going on a big road trip, what do you need to know when you're going off into the abyss?
You know what? I actually wrote these down on my phone a long time ago, but I would say you cannot, you mean in a van or just in general?
In a van.
Okay.
Since we're talking about van.
You can't sleep in a national park.
I mean, you can if you get a campsite.
That's true. But you need to book those up like a couple months in advance. So you would need that. There's no cell phone service in most national parks.
I would say 99.9%.
Yes.
So you get ready to have no service whatsoever.
Yeah.
So download what you need, have your maps, have whatever you need. There is zero service. So
Yeah.
go to the visitor center first thing, because maybe visitor centers will have Wi-Fi to log into, but even that's rare.
Yeah. And when you're working full time on the road, that was probably a big stress for us. You know, I was working for Taylor at the time, and it was, oh my gosh. We would try to schedule our national parks on weekends, on the off days, because we knew it would be such a pain in the butt. But what I would also suggest is kind of have an idea as to where you want to go in the national park. Like you were saying, map out
Know your
what
route.
you want to do. And then, know your route, because you're not going to have a way to use a map system in the national park. What I would say is when you get there, check in with the rangers, ask them what would be their top things to see or do if you had 2 days, 3 days, and then get a map. Get a map at every national park. It'll
Every
save
national
you.
park. They hand it to you
Yeah.
when you literally drive through the entrance. So first of all, get your year pass if you're going to be traveling. If you do 5 national parks in, a year, it's still cheaper to buy the year pass than it is to pay, what is it, $20 each time? It's
Yeah.
like $90 for a year card every time.
And our goal was to do 10 every time we were out, right? 10 national parks.
So either way,
Yeah.
no service whatsoever. I would add fill up fuel before you go in.
Great
Because there's
tip.
big ones like Glacier where you could drive for 2 days and you're still in the park. There's not a gas station in there. And you'll be like going up and down these giant mountains and you're camp for a day and then you go and you're like, I'm at a quarter tank. I should probably find, but wait, no service. You can't look
It's
for a gas
stressful.
station.
That was stressful. I would agree.
We started doing that after our first trials where it's like, all right, full tank, enter the park.
Yeah. Full tank of water, full tank of gas or diesel, fully charged on your electric system. Make sure your solar panels are nice and clean. Make sure your cell phones are charged. Make sure you have your mapping system. Yeah. Just have a plan. Don't go in there like, oh, let's just explore. 'Cause-
Electricity, plan,
Yeah.
water.
Sleep. A lot of them, we would have like some BLM property, like the Black Lives Matter property on the
That's
outside.
right. And then there'd always be riots. And we're like, why are they trying to burn down my house?
There would be the government land for those of you who
Bureau
don't.
of Land Management is what BLM stands for.
So there were options to stay outside of the park, and those are free game for people. So,
Yes. So
those would be
if you
good.
ever look up BLM, that land, literally you could drive onto it. You can own anything. It's free camping.
Yeah.
People
Bug
go
spray?
off grid.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's bug spray, sunblock. Make sure you have that. Make sure you have plenty of water on your hikes. We have one experience. Should we talk about the hike? I thought I was going to die.
Was that the South Dakota?
That was it.
It was. That was bad.
Was it Badlands? I know I wanted to say Badlands too.
It was Badlands.
Was it?
It was one of the far sides. And we did, I won't say it was like a 9-mile
12.
hike.
12 miles.
Was it 12?
It's called something. It's like a dead man's loop or something, right? Wasn't it? And I was like, this is fine. We could do this. It was mostly flat ground.
It was
walking
literally
through
flat the entire time.
Walking through Afghanistan. It was death.
Desert, flat. I was shirtless, getting the sun the first bit, sipping water.
Like, this is easy.
Halfway, Steph's like, I'm going to die.
We didn't have enough water. I didn't pack it. We brought one thing of water, and I thought, I am getting dehydrated, being in the blazing sun, no coverage at all.
I was like, you're fine. Just keep going. You're like, you don't understand.
The first 5 miles, I was golden. And then I started getting dehydrated. I was like, I started panicking. Like, we don't have enough water.
Guys, Steph, there was a parking lot between the two routes where we had to cross. Steph was going up to cars like, may I please have some water?
Yeah. And then on the way back, I was like, we have to drink. Somebody else gave us a couple bottles of water.
Yeah,
Because
she literally got water from strangers.
I thought there'd be a water fill station at the end where there weren't any, there was no water, nothing, no bathrooms, nothing. I was like, we are not going to make it back. I told David, I said, I'm not going to make it. So somebody gave us like 2 bottles of water, and we set a timer on the way back, like every 30 minutes.
That was every mile we'd take a sip.
Every mile we would take a sip of water in the heat, no shade, in the blazing heat. Would we start the hike at 12 o'clock, which is the worst,
Yeah, it was bad timing.
the hottest
Normally,
time of the day.
we do like a 5 a.m. start.
It was like 104 degrees, y'all. It was terrible, but we did it.
I laughed the whole time. I'm like, you're going to be fine. You're like, no.
I couldn't move my leg. Like, I was literally dehydrated. I could not move my leg.
So funny.
So that was the most intense hike, even though it was pretty much flat
That
through
was
sand.
not the most intense. You say that because of the feeling, but I saw you at the Delta Lake hike. That was the most intense. For
Oh,
me.
Delta Lake. You know what? Honestly, yeah, Delta
You
Lake.
always look back and you're like, it wasn't that bad.
No,
I remember
Delta
you
Lake-
being like, I have to sit. You
Delta
kept
Lake,
saying.
my feet, because it was straight up at one point.
Right before the bouldering, we had to go up like a.
Yeah,
It was probably.
it was great.
Yeah, it was straight up.
That was an awesome, intense hike. I think that was more intense than the Yosemite Half Dome hike was.
Half Dome was pretty intense though.
I
Half
think
Dome
that one was
kept
more-
going. It was
Yeah.
like, we're not even halfway there.
I know.
But Delta Lake, the whole thing was like, holy shit.
The things that you would think would be more challenging weren't, and the things that you thought weren't were. Like, to me, the flat, I was like, this is going to be easy, and that was intense. And then the sand dunes kicked my butt too.
It did.
I was like, I couldn't.
You're
Like,
not a desert girl.
well,
You
my
struggle.
feet just
You're like,
can't-
every time we're in the desert heat, you're just like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm like, the van's right there. I think we'll make it.
yeah, I don't know. I don't do well. Maybe it is like the desert heat, but in the tropical and the woods, I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
I thrive in the gardens and the fairylands. You're right.
Delta Lake hike, for anybody wondering, that is
Secret.
it's a secret hike that's like off the beaten path, literally in Grand Tetons.
That was awesome.
So we slept in the parking lot at that hike down the trailhead. 4 a.m. We got up as it was dark, started it.
Saw a bear.
That's right. I turned the corner. A bear was right in front. I'm like, oh my God, give me the bear spray. But it took off when we clapped, thank God. But we both startled each other, me and the bear. And then, yeah, we got up there and it was beautiful. It's a hidden lake in the back. It's all glacier runoff, so blue.
We'll post a picture.
That's right.
It was one of the most beautiful surprise hikes of all time. But then on the way back, we got lost.
Yeah. Whatever.
Whatever.
We ended up finding the trail.
Yeah. We had some fun moments. I mean, we've had quite the adventure. Would you say that national parks were the highlight of your van life tours? Or what would you say were your favorite parts of van life?
Favorite parts? Yeah, it's definitely national parks. Seeing those places, going to little cities that you've always heard of and haven't been, whether it's from the national parks of Yellowstone to actually visiting places like Jackson Hole or
Texas.
going to Fort Worth in Texas after going to, what's the giant national park down the southern? Big Bend. Big Bend is probably in my top 2 or 3 national parks.
Yeah.
And it's totally different, but I love Glacier, Yellowstone, and Tetons, but I also think Big Bend is so awesome.
It was surprisingly cool.
But from seeing like I said, National Park Yellowstone, Jackson Hole, cowboy country. And then you go down and you do Big Bend and you drive up to Fort Worth. And then all of a sudden you're, seeing the big horns and you're at a rodeo. I just think these are the coolest little towns that you get to explore on your way through.
Who would have thought that Boise, Idaho would be a blast?
Well, Boise's a little party town. You
I
got
had
the
no
college
idea.
and then all the upcoming. It's like,
Yeah.
it's exploding.
And what was also really fun about van life is we got to see our friends. And I think which was a really nice break in between. I think Ori said it. Make sure that you guys, if you find like you're hitting a wall, stop at a hotel. Like give yourself a chance to decompress. And so when we saw friends, through Texas, like along the road trip, we made attempts to see as many people, which was also great because everyone opened up their homes. They're like, do laundry, top off your water, sleep in a real bed.
So I'll let you finish that first.
So I think that also gave us tiny breaks along the way. That kind of broke up the monotony of the stress. Like it would bring us up and then bring us down. And that was, we had a lot of generous people along the way on our road trip that made it really enjoyable.
So if you're a friend of ours or a friend of anyone with a van, here's some tips. If someone's visiting you, if the weather is decent enough, we prefer to stay in the van. If it's miserably hot out, like we're in Arizona or something, we prefer to stay in your guest room if you'll let us. But if it's, 70 or less during the day, it's like, no, we'd prefer the van, but yet we'd still love the opportunity to use your restroom and do laundry. And then, can I borrow your hose? I'd love to refill our water tank.
Yeah.
Because other than that, it's like, I feel weird asking, but if a van lifer came up here, I'd be like, dude, top off your water, go get a nice shower, and do laundry.
I had no problem asking.
I know.
I would ask
you in general.
I would ask anybody because we help so many people too along the way that you have to be able to receive if you're going to give. It's part of the balance. So if you're a van lifer and you're in Florida and you need somewhere to crash,
hit us up.
Let us know.
You can pull in our driveway. We got a pump out if you have an actual black tank. And then, sorry, we don't have a full 50 amp or
You
30
can
amp.
use our shower. You can use our
But you can
laundry.
recharge. You just can't run your full electric.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because we get it, and if you know someone in van life and they come to visit, just let them do laundry.
We're not opening it up to you full time. Yeah, just at night and get the fuck out of here. We don't know you.
David has a problem with people long term
I don't like
overstaying.
people
Welcome.
lingering.
I know, you're so strange about
I'm
it.
like, bro, I got shit to do. What are you still doing here?
Well, I think what it is too is that we aren't home very often. And so if we get a 3-day window, we want to just decompress. We don't want to have somebody to entertain for 2 weeks. So
Yeah. If somebody says, I'm coming to Florida, let's hang out. I'm like, for sure, bro, swing by. Or, where are you going to stay? And they're like, well, I was wondering if I could stay with you for 5 days. I'm like,
see, I'm the opposite.
sorry.
I'm like, come on, doors are open. I'll cook.
I lost your number.
New phone, who dis? But I'm the opposite. I'm like, let them stay. It's fine.
Unless it's like a family or friend member. Not a
Friend
family
member. Maybe it's a friend member.
But us
Cold
members
member.
only. But obviously, if we're trying to kick it, stay with us by all means. But when people
Yeah.
invite themselves in a weird way, I'm like,
Not me. I love it. I'm like, come on. The more the merrier.
yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
But seeing as you're talking about we're home for a few days, I want to talk about the differences when it comes to our lifestyle merging in the van. Let's start with
Oh yeah.
let's start with on the move. We're home. I love routine. I want to wake up early. I want to work out. I want to, whether it's go for a ride, jog, box, ice plunge, on to editing. I got computer screens everywhere. The van, all that's gone except for the computer and a laptop. And then it's like, all right, you're just like, why aren't you getting as much done? And I'm like, I'm stressed out because we're driving somewhere. Now I have to drive backwards and edit, or I got to find a coffee shop to get some work done. And you, on the other hand, you're like, let's just go with the flow.
I think that you and I, as much as I think I know you, because we've been married and together for over 13 years, I still learn so much about you. It's so much fun that you get to continue to explore your partner over the years.
Oh, is that it?
One of the things that David and I have learned about each other is he likes to wake up early. And David's idea of early and my idea of early are very different.
What's your idea of early? If someone
like
says, let's wake up tomorrow.
7:30, 8.
7:30 to 8 a.m. is early for her.
That's like a good time to wake up. But however, because I go to sleep late, you go to sleep early. So David goes to bed at what time? 9.
Especially the van.
10.
If we got nothing to do at 9 a.m., 9 p.m., I'm falling asleep.
Yeah. And to me, I'm just now waking up. Like 9 p.m., I'm like, I'm creative between 9 and midnight. Let's go. I've got things to do.
But
So David's asleep for those 3 to 4 hours. I'm wide awake. And then he wants to get up at like 5, 6 a.m.
5 a.m., I'm like up. Especially if we're in the middle of nowhere and the sun is peaking the mountain. I'm like, this is so cool. And I'm awake. Let's do something. Meanwhile, you're like,
I will
gonna
kill
murder
you.
me.
Yeah. And that's the window of time where I get my best sleep. Like 5 to 7 a.m. is my best. And so there were times where David, and he's like, let's get up early. I'm like, okay. And in my mind, what I think is early and what David thinks is early, we would kind of like have some tiffs. I'm like, this is so freaking early. So we had to have little powwows the night before. We learned what is early to you. Like specify what you mean by get up early. Because if I can set my mind to, okay, I'm getting up at 5 a.m., then I know I'm getting up at 5 a.m. versus you just waking me. I don't like being woken up.
Yeah.
I'm a
or
bear.
if we're staying like, if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's different. I'll go outside or I'll do something or chill.
Yeah.
If we're like in a city and we're already uncomfortable with like, all right, maybe we're in a nice neighborhood because it seems safer than sleeping at Walmart or Planet Fitness. I'm like, all right, we're going to get up early tomorrow and we're going to start the drive because we're halfway to Montana or something. And you're like, okay. Like I said, you expect 7:30. I'm up at 5 and I start breaking down and start
Oh,
the
I'm
van.
gonna kill you.
And then we're driving. And then you're just back there kind of vibrating and you're like, I fucking hate you.
And also too, David likes to get up early and he's like, hey, what are we doing? Let's talk about everything. Oh my God, did you see this? What do you want to do? And to me, I just need a minute. I need a minute when I wake up early. Yeah. So I would just kind of ignore him. And there would be times where you would think, what's wrong? Are you mad at me? Like, I know I can feel your energy. I know you're irritated. And I'm like, then shut the F up. Why are you still talking to me?
She's so rude. Do you
I
hear the way
learned-
she talks to me?
Because I'm a grump when I wake up too early. If I don't get enough sleep, I need sleep. So we had to like learn different patterns. You know, David just couldn't really talk to me a bunch, but if we were going to get up at 5 a.m., don't talk to me for an hour. Leave me alone.
What state were we in?
Idaho?
Was it Idaho? When I woke us up, or I woke up early, I broke down the van and started driving, and then I pull over and I'm like, hey babe, look outside. You're like, I don't want to look outside.
No, but you were really nice about waking me up. You were like, babe, I know you're sleeping. I want you to You were
see.
very
I wanted you
sweet
to
and
see what's
gentle.
happening outside.
And it was really awesome. But I was so tired. I don't remember
The
what.
sun was rising and there were hot air balloons
Oh, it was beautiful.
covering the skies. It was really cool.
It was really cool. So I appreciate you to wake me up for that. I would also say that David does not like clutter.
Well, back up, because this is for all the men out there who probably deal with the same thing. In the morning, you act like that because I'm like, I have energy and let's talk. But if it's nighttime and I'm falling asleep, she's like staring at me like, hey, I was thinking we should talk about our feelings. Like just things where I'm like literally falling asleep. Why do you want to have these conversations with me?
Not even feelings. Like, what are we going to do tomorrow? This is what I think we should do. I'm like planning and mapping and looking. And again, I'm most creative.
I could feel your eyeballs burning through my head as I'm sleeping. Like, it's almost like it bothers women when the guy can just hit his head on the pillow and pass out.
We're jealous.
It bothers you.
Yeah, because I hit my head on the pillow and all of a sudden it's like, what is 10 plus 10 times 40 times 1,000? And I just go into these weird, my brain cannot shut off.
Yeah, you start thinking about how
Everything.
you're digging yourself in a hole during that conversation 23 years ago. And you're like, does that person still remember?
Not so much the past. I start thinking like tomorrow, what are we going to do tomorrow? This is what I'm thinking. And my brain starts becoming active. Whereas you hit the pillow and you're like, good night, start twitching and you're already asleep.
Yeah, someone could be actively trying to kill us all day. But the second I hit the pillow, I'm like, I'll deal with it tomorrow.
Out. And I'm like, hey, babe. And you're like, what? I'm like, are you sleeping?
I know. Yes, I'm asleep. That's why I'm responding to you right
Like,
now.
well, what should we do tomorrow? This is what I think would be fun. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
But
always.
yeah. Okay, so one more thing that I would say is what we learned about each other too is, and we probably learned this a little while back, but it relates to the van, is that your idea of clean and my idea of clean are slightly different. So for you don't like clutter. Like you don't like stuff around. And my idea of clean is like deep cleaning, like cleaning light switches and scrubbing and cleaning off the cabinets.
Which she still hasn't done to the van once.
Why are you going to say not once? I did it when we were living in the van. I did it all the time.
She did it once.
I did it all the time. You just didn't see it.
Have you seen the van?
Well, not now. It's been parked.
Go clean it.
I will. Slave master. But there were times where we would have different opinions of what clean was. And so I don't mind clutter. Like things don't bother me because it's things.
We live in a van.
That's what I'm saying. I had to learn, like David didn't, to him, it would stress him out or create angst that there were things around. So I had to learn to be more mindful of the things. Whereas for me, my idea of clean is like a certain way of dishes and cleaning out the sinks and cleaning off the walls.
About the van?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in general too, like even today in our house, we're the same way. But it was a good lesson that we learned in our relationship.
I have an example of this.
I just gave examples of that.
I know, but I have an example directly to the van.
Okay, go ahead.
She likes stuff, and I want an empty counter. She always has plants on the counter. And I'm like, babe, there can't be things while we're driving on the counter. She's like, it's fine. There's the little anti-slick pads underneath. She had like 3 potted plants sitting on the counter.
They were thriving, living their best life in the van.
Yeah.
You need some carbon dioxide eaters.
And here's the danger of traveling at night when you're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the van, and out of nowhere, and Steph's asleep in the passenger seat. Like she hates sleeping. You hate it because she's so anxious, like something's gonna happen.
I don't sleep in vehicles.
Her eyes are
well.
shut. She's in the passenger seat. I'm driving, and sure enough, I look and I go, "Oh shit! I know I'm gonna have to hit the brakes." Family of deer right in front. I'm like, so I have to slam on the brakes, and then Steph opens her eyes and thinks they're dead. They're dead deer. I was like, I knew I was gonna stop in time but I was like, oh gosh, now she's gonna wake up. She's gonna hit the brakes, and all you hear, the deer just sit there and watch us come to a stop and then walk nonchalant. But as we come to a stop, you just hear, bam, shatter. All 3 plants just slam against the passenger seat and explode
on the back of my head, like not on my actual head, but on the back of the seat. It literally was my worst nightmare because it sounded like the whole back of the van was crunching into the back of my seat.
And I just slowly look at her like,
I told you so.
No, you're like, don't say it.
Oh my God,
I'm
the
like,
plants.
Clean it up. And I just kept driving.
And it's like clay pots. It's not like we have them in a plastic Tupperware.
And all that soil was just
the dirt.
Everything.
And David doesn't like grit on the bottom of his feet. And it was just dirt. But the plants survived, and we still have them in the house, and they are living their best lives.
They are. So to wrap it up,
yeah.
Top 5 national parks in your opinion. Go.
Oh, okay. I really liked Grand Tetons. That was a fave for sure. Yosemite. epic. I really like the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. That was a top. Whew, this is getting tough. Yellowstone. Yeah, epic. It is exactly. It's definitely a top. And then I really like the Washington National Park. Olympic. Was it Olympic that we went to? Was that one? I really like the Olympic National Park. I mean, Sequoia and all those. I liked all those too. It's so hard to pick. But maybe those are the first 5 that come to mind.
Okay.
Okay, you.
Number 1, Glacier. 2, Big Bend. 3, Yellowstone Tetons. Number 4, I forgot. And number 5, Yosemite.
Arches, Scion.
No.
What was your 5th? Badlands. Oh,
Badlands,
Big
number
Bend. Big
Badlands would be 5. Yosemite 4.
Bend. Okay. I really like the trees. So to me, if you give me a bunch of trees and a bunch of really cool hikes, be awesome. What was the one we did before Olympic? We did 2. Didn't we do 2 in Washington?
To San Juan, and that's the one to the right.
The volcano one. That was in Washington. The volcano.
Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier was dope. The weather was perfect. The hikes were epic. The volcano was so pretty. Mount Rainier might be one of. Is that better than Olympic? I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask. I like them all.
You're literally the right person to ask because you've been to all of them.
Okay, where's our next adventure with van life?
We're going up the Northeast to Acadia, but we're going to hit all types of stops and work on the way.
Yep. So the goal is to go through Niagara Falls, which you've never been to. We're going to do that. We're going to hit up Acadia, see some family in New Hampshire. And then my goal on the way back, if I can convince you to say yes, is to come through Canada, go through Montreal, Toronto.
We won't physically be able to go through Canada. And they're going to strip the van into 25 pieces so they could look through every wheel well. I'm not doing that. Sorry.
And why won't you do that?
We're better off renting a car and leaving the van on our side.
David doesn't want to do that because we pack ourselves in the van. But if I can convince David to, I don't know, we got to figure that out. But I'd like to go through Montreal, Toronto, and then we'll come back through, they call it the PI? No, UP, Upper Peninsula.
Not Prince Edward Island.
Yeah, we want to come through there.
Brunswick, all the way to the right.
And we are sitting on so much content. One of my goals in the next few weeks here is to really dive in and start releasing it. So if y'all are on Instagram and you want to see more, you can check us out at the Baca Bins. Yep. That's it. Bins for Mercedes-Benz, Baca, because we're the Bacas.
That's right.
So check us out there if you want to see some content.
Check out more of the Shifting Focus. We'll keep talking. We're trying to come up with content and ideas. We figured travel and van life would be a good one since we've done it. So yeah, comment below and tell us what you want to hear about next. Let's see who we should have on next. We love telling stories and meeting new people. So hit us up.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
See you.
See ya.